This video is brought to you by MoviePalette.com. Hey everyone, do you have a favorite movie that you would love to hang on your wall but you can't think of what scene or what poster to get? Well, now you can get the entire movie on one high quality canvas. With MoviePalette.com, you can get every scene from your favorite movie, or more specifically, the dominant color of every scene from your favorite movie in chronological order on a great high quality canvas. It also comes with a silver engraving of the title down at the bottom. Has rubber stoppers on the back to keep it from bouncing. And they have a huge catalog of what to choose from. Whether you're a horror fan, or a fan of sci-fi, Marvel, Japanese anime, Disney animation, drama, or Oscar classics, there's a movie palette for you. And right now, MoviePalette.com is having a sale for 50% off for their Halloween sale. But if you go right now, and if you enter room 15, you'll get 15% off of the movie palette of your choice. That's ROOM15 for 15% off of your movie palette. Again, this is a great value for a great piece of home decor that looks great for any film and for any film buff and anywhere in your home. You will definitely like this product. Mine is of The Shining, and I could not be happier with it. So definitely go to MoviePalette.com and enter ROOM15 for 15% off of your palette. Hey horror fans, welcome back to 237, back with another review. As I continue my month of October run through of both Stephen King film adaptations and anthology horror films. And for this review, it is yet another anthology. This is another one that I picked up probably about 2 years ago when I was really building my anthology collection. But I never got around to it. It's one that I hadn't seen until just now. And first off, if I sound a bit off or like a bit shaky, my furnace is acting up, so the house is absolutely freezing. I've been wrapped up in a blanket, so I'm really cold right now. So just forgive me for that. But this is one I was interested in because it looked like a wild, crazy time. I kind of got the impression of an anthology done in the style with the homage and the tone of the Tarantino Rodriguez Grindhouse. And it has 4 different directors. Yeah, 4 different directors. All of them I've heard of, but only 2 I'm really familiar with. And while it is kind of like Grindhouse, it's more... Where Grindhouse was more like the 70s, just Grindhouse exploitation, the theater experience. This is kind of like just the sleazy midnight exploitation drive-in experience, but more with a trauma spoof feel, tone, and humor. It's probably a horror comedy. I would be more apt to call it a comedy horror just because the comedy is so prevalent and it has that spoof nature to it. Which I say this every time because I think people forget, and they are 2 different things. Horror comedy is like Evil Dead 2, Return of the Living Dead, Reanimator, Dead Alive. Comedy horror is like Scary Movie, Zombieland, Shaun of the Dead. Whatever the overall genre is, but with elements of the other. And this is just such flat out a comedy, but done in like a spoof of even spoof films, like trauma films. But it's 2011's Chillerama, which, yeah, it has this crazy cover. John, I'm guessing this is Phil Roberts. I can't read the signature. And there's no way to flip the cover to have this as the overall cover, which I kind of prefer. The Ultimate Midnight Movie. So 4 directors who also wrote their own stories. There's Tim Sullivan, Adam Rifkin, who had writing credits for films like Mouse Hunt, Small Soldiers, Going Overboard, Adam Sandler's first movie, And he directed movies like Detroit Rock City. But then we got Joe Lynch, who directed Wrong Turn 2. Um, I know there's other stuff I've seen that he's done. I know he's done Wrong Turn 2. He was an actor in Hatchet 2 and Victor Crowley. Episode of Creepshow, the TV series. Point Blank, Mayhem. So I haven't seen too much that he's done. I've really only seen Wrong Turn 2 and this. And the other is Adam Green, creator, director of the Hatchet series. He directed Frozen, where they're stuck on the ski lift. A really underrated psychological thriller horror film, Spiral, with Joel David Moore, which I really liked. I don't know if he's done anything else, but I've seen all of those. I'm most familiar with Adam Green. I know people kind of take him or leave him. So let's see what else he's directed. I have seen his Coffee and Donuts shorts. Frozen, Hatchet 2, Chillerama, Digging Up the Marrow, which I haven't seen. He did direct Victor Crowley for The Love of Halloween, which I haven't seen. And he did a number of episodes for the show Holliston, which I haven't seen. So he's the one I'm most familiar with. They also wrote all their own stories. William Barrett did the cinematography, which he's done a bunch of stuff. He was involved with almost all Adam Green's films. Came out in 2011. At first played at a fantasy film fest. 2 hours long, and each story is a very different genre. I mean, the first one is like the Toei Godzilla giant monster movie. The second, which that was directed by Adam Rifkin, Tim Sullivan did I Was a Teenage Werebear, which is a mixture of, well, it says here, Rebel Without a Cause, Grease, and Lost Boys, because it deals with greasers. It's a musical, and there's kind of also like a surf 60s Elvis movie, but it deals with kind of suppressed, being a closeted homosexual, but when it comes out, you turn into a werebear. Like the werebear is your homosexuality coming out. I'm not sure how much of that would work nowadays. Yeah. The third one, directed by Adam Green, which is a spoof of mostly Universal classic Frankenstein, but I think some of the 70s Ilsa Nazi exploitation films. And then Joe Lynch did like the final part, which we start to see a fourth film, like a fourth segment, but then it cuts out, and then we get the finale in the wraparound. It's like the wraparound turns into the fourth story, which is okay. And the wraparound is, imagine like Dazed and Confused, where it's like a bunch of different cars with characters in it that you keep going back and forth between. There's a few cars that we focus on, and they all go to this drive-in, which just to show even more that this is definitely a trauma-inspired film. The drive-in is called Kaufman Drive-In, and we just kind of go through all these different cars, these different characters, and we watch the films as they do. It's run by this guy, played by Joel Murray, great character actor. He was the old guy in the first Hatchet. He was been in a ton of stuff. He's great in this. He's a lot of fun. He has like a poster of Orson Welles that he talks to. This whole drive-in is his life, but he just sold it. This is the last showing. He wants to kill himself. He kind of speaks in movie quotes, which I will say, the humor was hit and miss for me. Now, my last review was for VHS Viral, which I said is one of the worst anthologies. Sorry, my nose is running. I told you, this house is freezing. Is one of the worst I've ever seen, along with Scary or Die, Campfire Stories, Creepshow 3. But here, where everything is so intentional and over the top, even the bad effects, like there is some bad CGI. Whenever they use something like a miniature model in stop motion, they make sure it's obvious enough to see it. The only blood is like splashes of blood or blood spatter. So like when heads get knocked off or dicks get ripped off, because yeah, I'm gonna get into the humor. It looks like foam. Like everything looks incredibly fake. Or if there's like a flying object, you can see the strings. It's all intentional, kind of like with Evil Dead 2. So I buy into that if it's intentional. But some of the humor was a bit much. The only one that I found funny at all was the third one, the Diary of Anne Frankenstein. That's because Joel David Moore as Hitler. There were some lines that I thought were funny, and there was some clever jokes in it, I thought, or gags. Everything else was just so over the top. Like the first story is called Wadzilla, and it's basically this guy. Well, it has like Ray Wise as a doctor. Eric Roberts, I think, is the military general, and this is the Godzilla spoof, where this guy has, poor sperm, so he takes this medication that's supposed to help his volume and potency of the sperm. One giant sperm monster comes out. Well, it starts out, still massive, but it grows into like a giant Godzilla thing. And it just tries to attack and hump people. And eventually going after the Statue of Liberty. They even try to put a giant condom over the Statue of Liberty. And this is with like the miniatures and stop motion. And there's even a news story about it. There's a marquee in the background that says the Glob. I think there was some other reference that I wanted to mention from this story. But, I mean, yeah, it really is just this giant sperm monster, Godzilla, walking around. And when they finally stop it, it explodes and everyone gets covered in semen. Which this is the second anthology in a row to use Beethoven's Ode to Joy from his Ninth Symphony. One of the greatest, most beautiful pieces of music ever written, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, Ode to Joy for the fourth movement. It was in this, when everyone in slow motion gets covered in jizz after it gets destroyed. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it was in VHS Viral during the end of the wraparound. It was done way better in this. So, if only Beethoven knew. And literally, like, a character, like, going like this to his pocket, jizz comes out. It does end on a funny joke where the main character and his date, they're covered in it, and they go to kiss for the first time, and he just, like... Then she gets mad. Oh, okay. Okay, fine. And then they kiss and it's all sloppy. Okay, that's kind of funny. And the wraparound, and what actually got me more excited about this was, because when the wraparound starts, it's black and white. It says Chillerama in the red, like a Monster Madness font. It's got the lines, the grit and the grain, like an old movie. And I'm like, oh, this looks awesome. We see this guy digging up his dead wife, just bitching at her, saying that, he's overdue for something that she would never give him. As he pulls his pants down, she comes alive, bites it off, but he's able to walk away fine. He's called into work, which is the drive-in, and the whatever's coming out of him is blue that gets into the butter for the popcorn, and it turns you into a horny sex zombie where you either just want to jerk off, have sex, doesn't matter with who. So it turns into a zombie movie by the end of the wraparound, which becomes the fourth segment. And I'm like, okay, kind of like Shivers, like a David Cronenberg zombie film, like sex zombies. But the second one, I was a teenage werebear. I was like, okay, they're kind of poking fun at musicals. The colors are overly saturated to the point where they're blinding. It is like a summer beach movie. And again, the acting is so over the top. Because it also has like the 80s jock, uh, asshole bully who wants to pick on the lead, the main character because he thinks he's, Nancy boy. He has this girlfriend, but as the movie progresses, he's trying to deal with his closeted homosexuality. He's in love with this sort of James Dean kind of retro Elvis greaser. Which there's a wrestling match. The greaser bites him on the ass, which infects him. So whenever gay, lusty feelings arise, they turn into these werebears. And I mean, the bully's just like, so we got like a girly man. It's like a mixture between like a dumb jock and Spicoli. And you have appearances by Lin Shaye. Lin Shaye she was in the Wadzilla story. She's in this one. And it's really over the top. I mean, even his girlfriend gets hit by a car, so her head is like massive head wound Harry from SNL. But to show the brain damage, she just acts dumb, like, like that's all she's doing. I found this one a bit too over the top to be funny. Like, it's more so just silly in a dumb sense. But, so, the main greaser guy, he wants to go on a rampage, because their homosexuality is repressed. The main character wants, tolerance, just wants to be accepted for who he is. They get in a big fight, and Lin Shaye, she's supposed to be like the gypsy from the original Wolfman. She doesn't give him a silver bullet. She gives him a silver dildo, which he uses on him, and that's how he stops him. And then the third one, we see in between more people are eating the tainted popcorn and becoming these, blue-faced zombies, sex zombies. Which I noticed one of the characters in the cars, I think his name was A.J. Bowen, who's been in a lot of horror movies that I like. Is he not even... Oh. He's probably not even accredited because he's the wraparound zombie movie. Nope, still doesn't even say. All right. Well, I didn't even describe the origin. I guess they wanted to make an anthology called Famous Monsters of Filmland, based on a magazine that they all grew up reading. They did make posters in the style of 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, which each one is kind of trying to portray. Oh, it was put out by Aries Scope, which is Adam Green's company. There was going to be another story, A Werewolf of Alcatraz, but they cut that out for Wadzilla. And I Was a Teenage Vampire was changed to Werebear. as Lynch's suggestion. And I'll explain the foreshore when I get to it. But anyway, so I did find this one funny because it shows Joel David Moore, the lead from Hatchet, and the robot guy from Grandma's Boy. He's Hitler. They show up to the house where Anne Frank is, and he says he wants the diary. He knows it's the house of Dr. Frankenstein. That's where Anne Frank is hiding out. And it's a stupid joke, but the way Joel David Moore says it, even though it's all in German, plus I love the black and white look of it. He has the diary, and he's like this, and he's saying like, "Give me what's in your hand." What hand? Or what hands? The ones behind your back. This hand? No, the other one. This hand? And then Hitler just leans back to one of his guards, and he's just like, how did he do that? I thought that was funny. But he shoots him, and shoots everybody. And, well, first, he says, if you give me the book, I will let you live. He's like, really? Really? Promise? Promise. I don't trust you. Pinky swear? Everyone looks at each other. He accepts it. They all start laughing. And even Anne Frank, the subtitles is like, we're laughing because it's funny. I'm like, okay, this is actually going to be a funny segment. Shoots everyone, takes the diary, seizes the diary of Dr. Frankenstein, hands another book to one of his Nazi guards, and he's like, here, write depressing stuff in it as if the girl wrote it. We'll sell it after the war, make millions. But the fact he just said write depressing stuff in it. So he creates his own Frankenstein monster, which I wanted to see who played him. It's Adam Green, and it's a stuntman and a bunch of makeup, so it's probably Kane Hodder. He did appear at the end of the film. Yeah, Kane Hodder. Which the monster's name is Meshuggah. Christina Klebe plays Eva Braun. And so he creates the monster, and I thought some of the monsters in the Hammer Frankenstein movies looked crazy. This one, it looks like an obvious suit. I mean, he's got Popeye arms, but it looks like sleeves. He's trying to teach him to kill, but all the Jewish comes out of him, so he has the monster, like, wears a yarmulke, has the sideburns. It won't kill. And then there is this long scene where the monster kills some of the Nazi guards, and Hitler then just yells, like, more Nazis! And they come in, and like he kills one guy with a menorah, stabs it through his head, twists it, half his head goes away. No blood, you can tell it's like foam. He throws a dreidel into the throat of this other guy, but you can see the string. And again, stuff like that I do find funny if those mistakes are intentional. But this I did think was clever. Because the guy's choking to death, and you got Eva Braun, Hitler, and this other guard screaming in fear, just constantly, ah, ah. But he just keeps taking forever to die, till eventually they're just like, ah, ah. And then they're just going like, ah, like waiting for him to die. I thought that was funny. And eventually, the monster just punches Hitler's head off. Well, even when the monster grabs a table with the puzzle of puppies on it, flips, he's like, not the puppies. But I did think this one was the funniest. I thought this was the best looking. I love the black and white, the grainy look. It's no young Frankenstein, but I thought it was still funny. And then we get the lead in to the fourth segment, which Joe Lynch plays this guy. Was it Alfonso? Oh, it doesn't even say anything about it. But he plays this very pretentious filmmaker. It's like, you may know me from such notorious films like The Cunting Dead, Sallow 2, The Next Day, and Rosemary's Picnic Table. And then he has this uh, whiteboard where he just has this drawing of a screen, someone crapping, and then all these arrows, and saying how this movie is just going to make you shit your pants, and just different ways to explain that. Even ending with saying things like, in other words, this movie will rape you with your own feces. His topless assistant nurse is gagging as he's, excuse me. And then we actually showed the film, which is called Defecation. And it's just all these random bits of just people crapping. Like there's R.A. Mihailoff, who played Leatherface in Chainsaw 3. He's like a strong man where every time he squats, he shits. There's a big lady who squats and shits. There's a guy bending over just spraying diarrhea on a painting. I'm like, is this really our fourth story? But no, then it cuts out and it shows the zombies. You know, all these people are zombies now, sex zombies. And then that becomes our fourth story. And sort of our main leads are these three kids in a car. One has a crush on the girl at concession. And then the other two is a couple that like each other, but they're too shy to tell the other one. And, you know, Joel Murray decides to, you know, he's got a whole arsenal of guns, which I think is a reference to Shawshank Redemption, because he rips the poster of Orson Welles down and does like that pan down the hole in the wall with all this artillery. And we see the characters from previous movies, previous scenes in their cars, like the married couple with the guy A.J. Bowen, which they're a married couple with a baby. And again, to be gross, they're zombies. She was breastfeeding earlier, so she like undoes her shirt. When he squeezes, milk sprays all over him. She rips his dick off. But then they see the baby is still normal, and it shows them like towards the baby. Last we see of them. And just a bunch of other characters that have already turned. The driver of the main car, he tries to save the girl from concessions, but she turns, kills him. And shooting these zombies in the head don't do anything. You gotta shoot them in the genitals. And Joel Murray goes up to the roof, and he just starts saying things in, like, action movie quotes. Like, hasta la vista, baby. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. All these famous action quotes. But then right in the middle, he says, like, nobody puts baby in a corner. Like, just throws Dirty Dancing in there. It does have some bloody scenes, like he shoves the shotgun up this guy's ass, pulls the trigger, blood. It's bloody when it wants to be. I mean, it mostly just splashes. But yeah, when you see something severed, it looks like foam. And then it ends with our two main characters, now a couple, stuck in the car, can't drive, no bullets, zombies laying all over the car. They decide to have sex, give them a show. But then it just pans up from the car as they start. Now we're in an actual theater with all actors from the movie, all four directors. Kane Hodder's sitting next to Adam Green. Adam Green is still wearing his Newberry comic shirt that he puts in every movie. And then it just ends with, you know, them kind of pretentiously talking about the ending of the film. Even Adam Green saying it's poetic and sweet, like E.T., they give them crap, and then it ends with them, you know, walking out of the theater. So yeah, even if the humor didn't totally work for me, the only one I really found funny was Adam Green's short, The Diary of Anne Frankenstein. That had lines and gags that I thought worked. Everything else I thought might have just been too over the top. But the reason why I forgive it is because, kind of like with Bodies, reason why I could deal with the characters being insufferable and annoying is because they're supposed to be. Like, it's supposed to be stupid. It's supposed to be over the top and incredibly silly. I mean, not only it is going for sort of a parody or spoof or homage to certain genre films of the drive-in era from the 40s on, but with a more trauma spin on it. So in a way, even being like a spoof of trauma. So if you're doing a spoof of trauma, you really gotta go over the top and really ridiculous. So even though the humor didn't land for me every time, I understood why it was incredibly stupid or silly. And I respect it for that. I would rather see something that's intentionally dumb, over the top, and ridiculous than something that is just really incompetent, like the last one I watched, VHS Viral. Overall, I couldn't say it's one I was a fan of, but I got what they were going for. I appreciated what they were going for. I mean, even the first story, Wadzilla, that kind of had the cracks and pops in the film to make it look, like the 50s. So I was like, okay, cool. It didn't stay, and it wasn't like that throughout the whole film. I liked the gag of making the fourth story seem like it's going to be just a bunch of nonsensical clips of people shitting, but using that as a fake out, and then just using the wraparound as the final story. So, even if stuff didn't work for me, I can still appreciate it. So I would have rather it have been more like a Grindhouse. Maybe we still have humor, but taken a little bit more seriously. But yeah, I really only liked one story, but I at least appreciated the whole film. And these are the kind of anthologies I also like, where you just get a group of known directors who have a shared love for a genre and just try to make a throwback. So I appreciated that as well. So while I might not be a fan of this film, it was still entertaining, which at the end of the day, that's what a movie should be. So even if the humor didn't land for me all the time, I was still entertained by how just out there it was. So that's 2011's Chillerama. I do want to do a few more Stephen King and anthologies before October ends. Got a little less than 2 weeks left, so you can get a few more in there. And I'm still waiting for Lamb to come in. Hopefully that's in within the next few days or a week, because then I can do my A24 ranking, and I really want to see Lamb. Waiting on a few more serial killer stuff to come in before I can do a collection video of that. So plenty to look forward to. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.